Hello, MAGFest! My name is Miguel Bulteau.
And I am Brent Black.
Online, I go as M. Bulteau. I'm a composer. I've been uploading VGM arrangements online for like 15 years now. And if you've heard of me at all, it's either because of an Undertale arrangement called Bone Klezmer, the duo Chateau with my darling wife, AWildChabi, here on slide duty today, where we cover VGM songs with lyrics, inspired by a certain someone right here. Or the Grump Variations, a musical scenario that I built with assorted clips from the game Grumps. And Aaron Hansen tweeted it at me and like, oh, can we have that? I said, yes, please, I'm a fan of yours. So there may be, however, a fourth reason. In 2011, I decided to go insane, and I started adapting the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask to an actual serious grand opera for stage.
As for me, I'm a musical theater writer and a teacher of musical theater writing, but you probably know me better from my YouTube channel, Brentalfloss, which, thank you, shut up. Now, for 18 years, I love you. For 18 years, 18 years, Jesus Christ, 18 years I've been taking video game music and adding lyrics, even though no one asked for that, usually in a parody style, but often with shades of musical theater storytelling. I'm also the writer of an off-Broadway Star Trek parody called Con the Musical. Thank you. Which, of course, I'll be plugging throughout the panel. By the way, this panel might have some bad words, so on the off chance that you don't want to hear that, you might want to skedaddle. Something tells me that's not going to be most of you. All right, so in this panel, we're going to...
I have been paired now. I don't know what, but okay.
So in this panel, we're going to talk about video game music through the lens of lyric theater, which is an umbrella term that means musical theater and opera and, you know, those that lie betwixt.
We're also going to talk about how these two things are different, but they can still borrow from each other. And maybe one day I will stop hearing the sentence, oh, I love opera. I watched The Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. Now, when Brent referred to this form of theater, he called it lyric theater. Can anybody tell me what a lyric is? Wow, we got someone who knows their shit here. Sorry.
Who raised their hand before you were done with the question?
Yeah.
Were you just like, I need to go to the bathroom and you got caught up in a question? You were like, I'm going to go with it. Okay, you just knew where we were headed. Okay, great.
They found our plant,
basically. Right.
Okay, one more.
Rock and roll, yes.
You're all right. The first guy, however, first person, sorry. Basically, let's resume it to this. It's the oldest form of literature that we know of. A long time ago, in ancient Greece, it was one of the three categories of poetry: lyric, drama, and epic. Lyric was the only one that was sung to music. So the most important thing to remember here is lyric poetry is about personal feelings, emotions felt, and narrated in first person. You, sir, or lady, or anybody should play Jeopardy. This is the thing that both musical theater
and opera
have in common.
So before we get any further into that, let's get to video game music. Let's define, I'm going to read in English this time. So before we get to video game music, let's define what musical theater is. Generally, a musical is a piece of narrative storytelling that is partially dialogue, like a play, and partially music, where characters break into song, like singing their inner monologues, or a story from their lives, or something about their inner feelings/desires. There's this saying in musical theater that goes, when you can no longer speak, sing. When you can no longer sing, dance. It's kind of a rule of thumb that can help actors understand how to perform breaking into song and help writers know which part of the scene to break into song into. Not all of my YouTube videos feel like that, as you may know. But take an example of like the Tutu Blues, where Mario's singing about looking around and swimming around in the world, hoping to find a princess, but it turns out he's always in the wrong castle. Perhaps it's some kind of a metaphor, who can say. And that's both video game music and musical theater there. Musical theater storytelling, at least. Another song of mine that does that is called The Ballad of Jeff, based on the Winter's theme from Earthbound. We're going to get feelings out of the way first in this panel. Unlike a character breaking into their own song, it's more of a story told by a narrator, or maybe old Jeff looking back at his life, singing about that. And I'd like to play that for you. It's called The Ballad of Jeff. Here we go.
It's a little quiet.
The noble pine stands alone, no one to see how tall it's grown in its frozen home. So it stands in the snow, and the north winds blow. It's a cold little life here in winters, and there's a boy all alone, no one to care how tall he's grown in his frozen home. So he stands on his own like the pine, and as the snow falls down, it never makes a sound. Sure, it seems to fly around, but it's headed for the ground. This winter's gonna be long, yeah. This winter's gonna be long. And in his dreams he can fly, a daring genius hero guy with a dad nearby. But he wakes and there's snow and the north winds blow. It's a cold little life here in winters. So will he live like the pine, perfectly still, just killing time in a slow decline? Or will he come to be something more? Maybe adventure lies beyond the snowy skies, with a purpose and a friend waiting just around the bend. Till then he's gotta be strong, yeah, 'cause winter's gonna be long. This winter's gonna be long.
The
There
end.
it is.
Thanks. So when we were preparing this panel, Miguel thought it would be a good idea to discuss tropes and stereotypes of musical theater. So here's one. Musical theater trope number one. As a bisexual man, I feel like I'm on very solid ground telling you, thank you, I worked on it really hard. So I appreciate that. So listen, as a bisexual man, I feel like I'm on very solid ground telling you that musical theater is in fact totally gay. Breaking into song, totally gay. And if you're one of those people that got dragged along to this panel and you're like, I don't like musicals, but you actually love a Disney movie like The Lion King or Frozen or Aladdin, and you love the songs and you know the words, you are at least a little bit gay. So welcome. And you know what? That's it. That's my only musical theater trope.
So, what is opera? Well, it's no less gay. As a European, I mean bisexual man as well, I can tell you that if you're into opera, you're just fancy, nerdy gay, okay? Deal with it. It's done. Just don't think about it too much. Here's the key difference. In opera, everything is music. Music is everything, and everything that happens on stage is sacrificed at the altar of music. Are we clear on that? Good. It requires a very particular way of singing, which they call squillo. It's a weird word. It means ringing. And it's achieved in a way that can make it difficult to even understand the text. You've heard, some of you who may have heard opera may notice that I don't even know what they're saying, and then you find out maybe he was speaking English and I couldn't even tell. So I'm not the biggest fan of that part, honestly. I prefer when diction is better, but when it's done really well, it's a reminder of this superpower that we discovered like centuries ago. Like, imagine to be heard at the end of this very large room, you know, like 3 times as long as this, you know, with no microphones over an entire orchestra. Like, isn't that cool? Like, how do you get that power, you know? So, you know what else has a very particular way of singing and is difficult to understand? Heavy metal. If you can listen to metal, you can listen to opera, okay? So, does that mean that opera is just songs back to back? Well, yes and no. Opera makes use of recitative. It's a way of singing with the cadence of speech, with only a few chords for support. For example, play me a D chord. Are you going to eat that biscuit?
No, the dog licked it.
Your loss.
Gross.
Well then, I'll take my leave. That's all it was.
Recitative. That's recitative for you.
And this is what replaces dialogue between arias, which is these numbers that opera singers do when they're solo, which is it's just a fancy, nerdy, gay word for song. You know, that's all it is. You know. So, and that is a cliche, by the way, in itself. People think, you know, oh, operas don't get dialogue. No, they do, actually. And there are musicals with recitative. Les Misérables, I get to show off my French accent right now. They use, it's sung through. If you saw the movie, Russell Crowe and huge Ackman, don't shut up. And 2 notes, 2 brain cells, you know, it never stops. I get tired of it, honestly. But it works. It works. It works. And other cliches are like operas are always long, tragic. There's always some big lady with a Viking hat, which you can all remember this name, Mr. Richard Wagner, and the way the Looney Tunes made fun of it, you know? Spirit Magic Helmet, Spirit Magic Helmet. It's like saying that all musicals are like Disney films because all you've ever seen is Disney films, you know? Still gay, though.
Yes. So now let's move back to why MAGFest let us even do this panel in the first place and talk about video game music.
Never mind the fact that I forgot to install the font on this one. Shh, nobody tell anybody.
It's a very academic-looking font.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, can video games be lyrical? Yes, only in a literal sense. You've all heard Live and Learn. You know, a lot of games today have intro, credit songs, you know, Smash Brothers. The new DuckTales show even turned the NES Moon theme into a lullaby. Sorry, Brent. What about the usual kind of video game music? You know, the background loop. You know, the stuff everybody thinks about, you know, you're in a level and the music plays over and over and over. You can't really say, you know, that Super Mario's personality was not influenced by the music a little bit. You know, it's a little jaunty little tune, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da, you know. He's a jaunty little man, you know. It's expressive. When he goes underground, sounds more dark. When he goes to the castle, it sounds hectic. But that's not quite enough for lyricism. This very serious Russian man called Igor Stravinsky said, music is by its very nature essentially powerless to express anything at all. It's what you bring to it when you listen, okay? So what your culture, what you know, that's what makes images appear in your mind. Music by itself cannot do that. We think that we know this, but you go across the planet and a D major chord doesn't mean the same thing. Those progressions are completely different. So you're made to listen to something in a particular way when someone sets poetry to music. And so if you adapt good lyrics to a good video game tune, you can make a third thing, video game lyric poetry. But to really get there, it might need adjustments.
Right, so what makes a good video game tune? Well, as Miguel said, most of it comes in the form of background loops. Generally with a background loop, you have a structure like verse, chorus, which is like 90% of the stuff on the radio, or A, B, A, B, A, B, where you have sort of a verse chunk and then a chorus chunk, or an A chunk and a B chunk. They go back and forth. So let's talk about songwriting structure briefly. Every chunk of music either has a label, like verse, or a letter, like A. And when you go from one to the next letter, you have a new letter, B, right? Okay, so sometimes you have something like verse, chorus, bridge, which is verse, chorus, bridge, It's not always exactly the same, but usually that's how it goes. And a bridge departs from what you've done thus far just to come back. Kind of like that part in Adele's Someone Like You. Why was this the only bridge I could think of when writing this script? But the bridge of Someone Like You is the part that goes, nothing compares, no worries or cares, regrets and mistakes. I thought you'd sing along. Anyway, that part, if you'll notice, is not like any of the rest of the song. It's a bridge. It bridges the gap from probably the second chorus typically back to the final verse or the final chorus. So now let's go, now that we have a sense of song structure, let's go to a video game example, which is the DuckTales Moon theme. Maybe you've heard of it. It starts with an intro, or what in musical theater might be called a verse intro, and it's in 4/4 time, by the way. Actually, wait, no, it's not in 4/4 time, it's in 15/16, and I will die on that hill just like the projector died.
Everything's fine. Carry on. Shh.
Yes. Anyway, so, okay, structure of DuckTales, right? The verse intro. And then it goes to the A. Does that for a while. Then the B, or you could also think of it as a chorus. Then back to the A. And on forever, as long as you stay, and I quote, on the fucking moon. So interestingly enough, probably the most well-known piece of video game background music is, which, can you guess? That's right, Super Mario Brothers. I'm glad that I haven't gotten so old that all of you were like, well, actually, it's an anime game that I've never heard of. Anyway, I'm just used to finding out that there's stuff I don't know about. Okay, the structure of the Mario tune is totally bonkers. It goes intro, ba-da-ba-ba-da-bap, to an A, then a B, then a B, then a C, then back to the A, then a D, then another D, and then a C, and the C ends with the intro to the A. So we've gotten all the way back to the A, and despite the wild structure, it also, the point is that it loops in a way that feels varied enough, but also pleasant enough that it doesn't get tiresome during hours of play. Now, let's contrast the structures of the video game background loop with a good musical theater song. Generally, a good musical theater song moves the story forward or divulges new information. And typically, you want the song to build from something smaller or quieter to bigger or fuller. One way to do that is with a key change, or as you might say, key change mofo, thank you, which usually moves all the notes a little bit higher and can add a little bit of energy, can kind of take the song home. In short, a good musical theater song has a beginning and an ending, taking us from one place in the story to the next. So you can immediately see how a good video game background loop doesn't perfectly cut and paste into a good musical number, because it's supposed to go on forever, whereas the musical number has to end. That is to say that a good video game background loop takes you from point A to point A instead of point A to point B. So some of the ways I've addressed this in my YouTube songs include adding a little coda, which is a piece of music that's not like the rest of it, just kind of a little plug at the end that's adapted from the music to make it feel final. I do this all the time. I did it in my Zelda with lyrics video in 2009, all the way to my most recent one, which is New Donk City with lyrics from Mario Odyssey. And you can also make a big medley of different tunes and make it feel like a whole journey, like I did with Dave Ballmer in the Ocarina of Time with lyrics video. Thank you.
So everything that Brent just said can apply to opera just as well. But there's a key difference that makes it more flexible and more confusing. Remember that guy? We didn't see the picture before, but that's Richard Wagner. About 150 years ago, he and some others really tried to blend and blur the lines between when something starts and when something ends, when a song starts and ends in a whole stage work. And so you see there, we used to be, song 1, recitative, song 2. I don't know why the text was misaligned, but never mind. And then later they all decided no, let's just, the whole thing is like singing, a gradient with no separation, So he called it a complete work of art. I call it the never-ending soup. Because where does the taste of carrots end and the taste of potato begin? It doesn't matter. What matters is whether they mix well in the broth. Now, if we're making soup out of video game music, I mean, opera out of, you get it, some preparation is required. Majora's Mask, the game, is practically all background loops. That's what I'm working with. And so, like Brent was talking about, let's stick to that. Let's take a brief look at the theme from the Curiosity Shop, if someone knows it. It's also the Lakeside Laboratory in Ocarina of Time, if you know it, and see how it fares in this little checklist, okay? So I can't sing very well, but you know it. You know, it goes na 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 na, etc., etc. You know the theme. Those who do know it. So the first item. I think it makes a great use of a lyric baritone. It has a very short range. And so the dark and agile voice of a baritone can carry it very well. Perfect for a thief, because I have given this theme in my opera to Sakon the thief. Thank you. Because he doesn't have a theme of his own, but he sells his stuff at the Curiosity Shop. So I decided, okay, let's do it that way. So it's also, the original is a little too sparkly. So I arranged it for quiet strings instead, because it gives it a sneaky nightly vibe. And that will be point number 2. It does play well with the tone of what I want to carry through, the nightly, calm, and sneaky, you know, up to no good energy that Sakon has. And just the first 4 notes for point number 3. Can the flavor permeate the broth? Can I get 4 notes out of here and use them all over the opera? This is called a leitmotif. You hear it over and over. And it's instantly noticeable because the song, you hear this na 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 na. That's a harmonic minor for those who are musicians in the audience. And I'll spare you details. It's instantly recognizable. So it can loop because I don't need to finish the song like Ben was talking about. I can make it a continuous thing into a next number. So we can stay on that. And if we can stay on that, how can I describe a scrawny, mediocre thief who thinks himself better than others just by how he sings? Well, in the game, you can find him hiding, and the only thing he says is, "I'm not doing anything suspicious, really." Now, wouldn't it be funny if I were to write 2 full stanzas where almost every single thing that he says rhymes with suspicious, but he never actually says the word? There aren't that many rhymes with suspicious until you get to more obnoxious words. But I can use this to my advantage. Like, I'm sure you've met people who like to pretend they're smart just because they use big, fancy words, right?
Yeah. We have a few of those in here, I bet.
Another night. Oh, sorry. A little nervous. One more time. Sorry. Give me any. I don't know. Go again. Yes. Another night most propitious for the likes of we ambitious. Some say malicious. We disagree, perhaps capricious indeed. Some say we're fictitious. The king of thieves, Sakon. First it was there, now it's gone. Now it's gone. A wedding most auspicious, bride and groom and riches, his golden precious, easy to get. Now her silver celestials for the set. They left their treasures in sight of sneaky Sakon. First they were there, now they are gone. poof, now they're gone.
Pretty good. You say you can't sing, but that was pretty spooky.
Supposed to be a little faster, but I got a little nervous. It's okay. I'm not an opera singer, but you get the point. So you see, like, you have the whole rhyme scheme, everything just functions, and you have the alliteration, repetition of words, and he never says the word suspicious, which is kind of funny for the people who know in the game that that's the only word he never says in the entire opera.
So let's talk about some tips and tricks for adding a lyric to a pre-existing tune. People often ask me how you do that, and I usually don't have time because they're usually at a booth with people behind them. But one thing I do when I'm writing one of my video games with lyrics tunes is to write a dummy lyric to get a sense of how the sentence structure might flow, and it kind of subconsciously gets in my head how the words will be inflected to fit the melody. For example, I've been writing lyrics for short video game music jingles this past year, and I had an idea to do a lyric with the little jingle from Final Fantasy I where you spend the night at the inn. It goes ba 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 ba, and without thinking about it, I just wrote, "Motherfucker, super sucker, go kick rocks," and dummy lyrics can help, they can help, if you turn your thing to the side, they can help you lose your place. Basically, they can help even more than that one. If you have a part with tricky melodies, things that don't really repeat, and you have to kind of keep all the syllables in your head, they can help with that. That was just a quick example to show you the concept.
You'll also want to make sure that you're writing in the right key, which I was very close to not being earlier on. But yes, the point is you should write for the right key, not just for the singer, because that's, whoever has the better range, it works. It's more like, there's a song, there's a choir in Majora that goes, everybody will come down, everyone comes to clock down, every year at the carnival, Terminus celebrates, no turnips here. And so, imagine that, but if I had written it like at a range where the whole choir was like, everybody will calm down, everyone comes to clock. Like, not only is it the wrong range for the singer, but it's the wrong color, if that makes sense. The wrong, there's no brilliance to it. You need to make sure that you're pushing the singers to the point where they sound excited. On the same notes, if something's supposed to be somber or quiet or delicate, it's important not to send the singing to the stratosphere, or you will end up with characters screaming about how quiet this beautiful night is. Of course, if you intend to use this subversively, you can do it. It's funny.
Yes, also a total rookie mistake in musical theater. When when people, the energy's going, here we go, we're gonna sing a song, and it's like, exactly like you said, we're excited today, I'm ecstatic. Anyway, the next tip for adding lyrics to a pre-existing tune is about prosody. One of my personal biggest priorities in songwriting, whether musical theater or with lyrics videos, is to make sure that the listener comprehends the lyrics in real time the first time they hear them. Well, that's where prosody comes in, which is a word for the way people stress and intonate things. A good example for this with lyrics is the word banana. Banana. So let's say we wanted to take the love theme from Final Fantasy IV and make the first musical phrase of that have the lyrics, "I'll eat a banana." It's got the correct number of syllables, but it would come out, "I'll eat a banana," which does not sound right, because if you intonate it like that, it doesn't sound like banana. It sounds like, I don't know, banana or something. So a better lyric would be, "Now it's banana time." I'm a professional lyricist. Generally, if the listener can't understand your lyrics the first time they hear them, then you're not using proper prosody, meaning you're not matching the rhythmic patterns of natural speech to the melodic phrases.
Once again, bringing you back to Sakon the Thief for melismas, and that's not something you catch at MAGFest.
Yes.
It is something, it's basically when you have one syllable and you drag that syllable across several notes. You want to cheat, you don't have room. Does it sound good? Yes, sometimes. So the example of Sakon, for example, Another night most propitious. 2 notes, 1 syllable. For the likes of we ambitious. That's like, I don't know, 7 notes. I didn't count. The point is, you can, if it works as an ornament, it works as a melisma. And where it fits depends, my advice is sing it to yourself, and keep Brent's advice on prosody, like think of whether the word is like sounding recognizable, and you can pick it up just by trying to sing it to yourself and understanding whether, someone else could understand what you're saying.
Another tip I call cheating with pickups. What I mean by a pickup is 1 or more notes at the end of a measure that come right before the downbeat of the next measure, or in this case, notes that come before an actual melodic phrase in the video game tune you're adding lyrics to. So, if you have a measure that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, you can add a pickup like 1, 2, 3, 4. That going into the 1 is a pickup. Here's a concrete example. So, in my most recent YouTube song, New Donk City with Lyrics, the B section, remember the structure, right? The B section of that tune starts out with a phrase that goes da-da-da-da-da, but I wanted the lyric to be once you gather up the crew. So instead of da-da-da-da-da, I added once you gather up the crew, and nobody noticed. And that's the magic of sneaking in extra syllables with a pickup.
Perfect. So, also, when a melody has a short section that repeats itself, or when there are 2 very similar moments close together, a rhyme can make that moment stand out, right? So imagine if something in a music repeats, something in a text can repeat too. You hear a repeating something in a sound, and if the text rhymes there as well, it works. We're going to give you an example. In Majora, there is a melody sung by Anju over the Astral Observatory theme, which goes like this.
Tell me you remember when she cried for the heart that you promised, that verse full of comments I gave you for pieces of mine. And no, my gem, tell me how you set them all in gold. You cut it to mean it and told me to keep it, but I meant to give you my soul.
See, Brent, I told you I can't sing. That's singing, okay? This is singing, that's singing. That's how it works. This is a melody that, by the way, my dear wife wrote herself over the observatory. And she is a composer. She doesn't want to admit it, but she is. So, hang on. Yeah. So in the lyrics right there, you probably noticed that the structure is not unlike, There Once Was a Man from Nantucket, because you get that little, so it's a terrible comparison, I'm sorry, but it says, you cut them to mean it and told me to keep it, a very sing-songy structure in poetry as it is, and you have the rhymes, promised, comment, it rhymes, shut up, don't judge me, and you cut them to mean it and told me to keep it, because the melody goes, and you cut them to mean it and told me to keep it. And so you have that parallel structure going on. So rhymes close together work when the music itself is also doing the same gestures, if you will.
And another way you can make it easier to add lyrics to pre-existing video game tune, especially if you're a composer, is to make up an original counter melody that's easier to sing the kind of lyrics you want to write. And Miguel just showed you an example of that. As for me, I learned this counter melody trick concerning video game music from the Megas, who you may know. They're pretty awesome. I love them. And so I tried this with a video about Breath of the Wild, Zelda Breath of the Wild. I wanted to use the fairy fountain theme, but I didn't want to go da 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 da, and I also didn't want to go da na na na. I needed to figure out a way to get the exact number of syllables I wanted to spit out to happen. So I wrote an original counter melody that sometimes interacts with the melody and sometimes goes off in its own direction. And let's play a clip of that now.
Oh my God, I don't mean to be rude, but let me put it on the line. I've never met a giant-ass fairy as fine as you. Let me bless you, caress you, de-stress you, unless you protest. Let me confess the quest of things I would just do to impress you. I'd fight an overgrown Super Mario dry bones. Let a big blue tongue squirt goo into my ancient iPhone. I'd peel off layers of the map like an onion. Then I would plunge into a giant robot camel, which is also somehow a dungeon.
Yeah, so there was that. Thank you. Thank you. I have not aged much since that video, which was 8 years ago, and I'll tell you the secret. Gain 1 pound every year. Your wrinkles will have nowhere to go. All right. Your turn.
Yeah, this panel is a tonal roller coaster, I assure you.
Yes.
So, okay, you did mention the fairy fountain, but you mentioned two things. You mentioned the arpeggios, etc. You mentioned the top melody goes na 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 na, but there is something else that you did not take into account. What if there already is material in the music that you can use as a counter melody? So in Brent of the Wild, in Breath of the Wild, and in a lot of other Zelda games, that melody has a little thing, because you hear na 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 na, but then in the counter melody you hear na 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 ni na 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 ni, etc. It goes on. So that's 10 notes in the space of 4. That's free real estate. In Majora, Anju, once again, tells the little street kids of Clocktown a bedtime story about how the giants took all the different peoples to the 4 corners of the world. A story like that could benefit from more than 4 notes per bar, wouldn't you say? It would be there for 2 hours if it was 4 syllables. Once upon a... I fell asleep already. So, I start with a counter melody, but then I can shift to the main melody and you won't even notice it's happening.
Did you know that once upon a harvest long ago, when we were made of stardust and the sun was but a little ember and the moon was barely put together, everyone fit in the palm of giants, but our home was proving hard to find us. Never please, we bickered night and day, and one by one we raised our voices saying we like the swamp, it's warm and wet. We like the mountain, best view you can get. We like the ocean, we like the valley. What a commotion, no one was happy.
You can tell she's a professional because she can breathe so fast. I can't do that. That would be me if I was doing it. She can just somehow breathe out of some part of her mouth we can't see. Do you have gills or something? I don't know. Just like, yeah, no, that's amazing. All right. So let's talk about how musical theater informed my YouTube with Lyrics series and Con the musical. So there's a reason why a lot of fans of my With Lyrics series also are musical theater fans, and that's because the lyrics are often written with the kind of musical theater flair, which by, of course, I mean cheesy-ass millennial cringe. But also, they sometimes portray stories about deep emotions, like the Ballad of Jeff or my Final Fantasy song about the mages, Ballad of the Mages. And you may also have noticed that the tunes I use, the tunes I choose to write lyrics to, are often in the styles of music you'll hear in musical, like, on the musical theater stage, and have similar instrumentation compared to, like, radio songs. And like I said before, they generally build to a climax like a musical theater song and end with a button. What's a button? Well, a button is where the song tells you to clap. It goes, da-da, boom, and everyone goes, oh, I guess I have to clap now. And Grandpa wakes up. And it can go down, bum, boom, or it can go, boo-rap. Anyway, there's a lot of different buttons, and they all tell you to clap. That's the ending of a musical number most of the time. Even sometimes when there's a really quiet one, it just goes, boom. Anyway, so here's the quick pitch for Con the Musical as I talk about how the musical theater genre informed my writing for it. Okay, in Con the Musical, Data the Android writes a musical based on the Wrath of Khan and performs it with a bunch of holographic actors on the holodeck. And by the way, I have an autograph session tomorrow in the autograph area at 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And I have newly printed Con CDs and enamel pins, just so you know. Maybe after this thing that comes up next, you'll be more interested in that. But yeah, I'm going to just show you a number from the show before we move on, called Have I Still Got the Magic? Cut to footage from the movie. Here we go.
They say you never see the bullet that kills you. Well, take a good look, Admiral.
What do we do, sir?
Sir?
Admiral.
Damn!
I used to live for a moment like this, to face the abyss and give it a kiss. When the heat of the bat makes you perspire and there's no way out but into the fire. Standoffs, enemy squads, no time, impossible odds. With a trick up my sleeve, I'd win again, though that was all back then.
Now you're old.
But have I still got the magic today?
Still got it, and you still got it.
Or has it simply rusted away?
Still got it, and you still got it.
I've got the highest rank, and who else has my clout? Should I feel doubt?
He's coming about.
Now we're gonna find out. Can I dodge the reaper?
One last time.
Can I pull a fast one?
Master Rhyme.
Will the skin of my teeth hold tight again? Have I still got the magic I had back then?
And you still got the magic that you had back then.
I say gone. If it's me you want, take me, kill me. I don't care, but spare my crew. It's only fair.
No tricks!
Tricks?
Tricks?
Shut up. No tricks. I'll beam aboard, but only me. And as for my crew, you'll leave them be. Deal?
I'll kill you once you beam aboard, but first I'll need a wee bit more. Give me all the records that exist regarding Project Genesis.
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 What's Genesis?
Oh, you want to play games?
What's Genesis?
Oh, come now, James.
What's Genesis?
Shall I fire again?
Oh, Genesis. Well, let's find it then. We'll need a little time.
Time. Well, you certainly gave us plenty of time to live out our days after City Alpha 5 became a barren desert!
Gone. I had no idea.
Well, you didn't stop by to check, did you?
Surely there's some way I can make this up to you.
Oh, there is. Transfer all information on Genesis to the Reliance, and then beam aboard so I can very slowly kill you. You have 60 seconds. Starting now!
I used to live for a moment like this when things were amiss, but secretly bliss. I'd take a breath and just like that pull the last minute miracle out of my hat. Ambushed, no escape. Made it out without a scrape. Pulled that stuff quite a lot when I was young and hot.
Now you're not.
But have I still got the magic today?
Still got it, and you still got it.
'Cause if this hair were real, it'd be great.
Still got it, and you still got it.
I wanted to be young again, to feel alive and spry, and now I do or die. Can I dodge the reaper?
One last time.
Can I pull a fast one?
Master Rhyme.
If I gotta go into the lion's den, I hope I still have the magic I had back then.
Well, you still have the magic that you had back then.
I say gone.
What?
We'll need a sec to boot the dash. The bridge is smashed, our Wi-Fi's trashed. I want to help you, but give us a bit.
45 seconds.
Shit, no power, weapons, speed, nada. To coin a phrase, we're a space pinata. Spot, help,
What do I do?
He's read our handbook front to back, every rule, regulation, and official fact. But over the years, you've acquired tools not mentioned in the rules.
Keep nodding, as if I'm complying. Now, Savick, I'm counting on you. Pull up Reliance prefix code, and we might just make it through. Hurry.
Prefix code. Prefix code.
A backdoor hack?
That's all we've got.
Ready for decryption.
Give it a shot.
Spock Babaloo-Bop, a Spock Bamboo.
Admiral!
We're finding it.
Tick tock.
I don't understand.
You have to learn the entire ship.
From stem to stern,
The ins and outs.
each and every quirk.
Not just the rules, but why things work. Each Starfleet ship has a code to preempt the very maneuver we're about to attempt.
Remote command is fully embedded.
Can you send it now?
Oh, you're about to get it. Let's dodge every bath
One last time.
and pull a fast one.
Master Prime.
One final play to save his crew. Give it to him, Spock.
Our shields are down.
What? Raise them!
I can't.
The name's James T. Kirk, Starfleet, True Blue. I beat the goddamn Kobayashi Maru. Con, you fell for a switcheroo, cause I still got the magic and it's coming for you. Fire! 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 Fire!
Thank you. And if the projectors seem to be, if the visuals seem to be about half a second off from the music, you're not crazy. No, you are, but you're not. Okay. All right. So, how did musical theater and the things I learned writing lyrics for nerds on the internet inform Con the Musical? Well, one thing I've learned writing Brentalfloss stuff, but never seemed to fully learn, is that you really have to know your shit when it comes to the lore of the game you're writing about. One example of this, when I did Luigi's Mansion 3, which I thought was my magnum opus, I had the ghost sing, "This is the third time you took the bait, Luigi." And the #1 comment on the video is reminding me that actually, in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Luigi was forced to do it, so he didn't take the bait. This is actually the second time he took the bait, and I wanted to die. So I made sure at least Con accurately references both Star Trek and or at least explains itself when it departs from perfect accuracy. Over on the musical theater side of what influenced Con, it's mostly the types of songs that you see in a musical being stretched and tarped over the story of The Wrath of Khan, like a big I Want song for Kirk, a Merry Villagers song for the Enterprise crew, a big rousing 11 o'clock number, look it up, we don't have the time, to wake up the audience in Act 2, and so on. With the premise being so wacky, I needed it to have an actual structure like a classic musical and not reinvent that.
All right. So how did opera then inform Majora? Well, first, a little real, because, you know, this guy's thing is finished, done, and in production. I've been working on mine for 14 years. Just kill me by now. No, it's fine. It's just, I'm not... The demos are a little old, but you'll get the point, you know. How opera can inform it, a few little things that work. Thank you. So a lot of these demos are outdated, but they're very good examples of the kind of things in opera that can work. And so the thing is, you know, people might ask, you know, why an opera? Why not a musical? Just a play? It's so stilted and weird. That's the point. Majora's Mask is a weird game. It's a weird game, and the world is strange. The moon has a face. Like what the? So, unlike other Zelda games, there's a lot of drama. Everything is a drama. Everybody's suffering, and this is great for opera because opera loves suffering. Not always, but it's very good material. Not always. The point is, it expresses suffering in a very odd, alien, intense way. Musical theater works very well for the sensibilities of like direct and understandable and more relatable ways of expressing emotion, whereas opera explores a sort of strange way of feeling emotion in a way that is over-amplified, if that makes sense. But, you know, people in opera don't sing like normal people. They don't talk like normal people. But you know who doesn't talk at all? Link is a lousy opera protagonist. So I guess I'll just trash the whole thing. I'm done. Thank you for coming. Bye. I'm joking. I'll finish this if it kills me. But the point is, my solution to the issue of the lore that Brent mentioned with Luigi's Mansion is you can abandon canon respectfully if you take Link out of the picture. Let's say he never came to Termina, right? But then, you know, who's the protagonist? Who are we going to follow? Well, opera needs a flawed, complicated character to explore and develop. There's this young man named Cafe, meant to be married on the day that the moon is supposed to fall. He's a this is a difficult thing for me to say. A perfect protagonist, thank you. He's a local, so no Link, no Zelda, no Ganondorf. The opera becomes self-contained. You don't need to know anything about Zelda. Just watch the opera, everything is there, no need for pre-knowledge. His wedding mask has been stolen. Immediate call to action, find Sakon the thief. He is supposed to marry Andrew the innkeeper in 3 days. Immediately, themes of self-worth, self-image. How will he face her? But, I hear you say, but in the game, he's been turned into a child by Skull Kid. Look, man, look. Do you really want to hear a kid sing for 4 hours? A kid as the main character? Just shoot me.
Because they're either bad or they're so good it's creepy and you hope they're being taken care of.
Absolutely. 100%. That's exactly it. You put it better than I could ever put it.
Child actors in singing, man. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. That's fine. It's the strength of an adaptation. You know, you can lean hard on a single big change and make the whole thing revolve around it. It's an opportunity for exploration, expansion. Take a look. It's in a book, Reading Nightmare. I meant a singing nightmare. That works well. In both the game and the opera, he shows off the golden wedding mask at the town bar. It's in his diary. I checked. I know the game back and forth. You cannot judge me for this. So, our common point of reference is this, right? So in the game, the mask is stolen because he's magically turned to a helpless child. You know, why in the opera, why don't we flesh him out instead? He's looks like a fancy man, the rich son of the mayor. Maybe he bought a round of drinks at the bar. Maybe he's used to buying his way. Maybe he has she says, maybe he's a man-child. Maybe, I'm not sure. However, maybe he has trouble making friends. Maybe he drank alone. Maybe he left the bar a helpless drunk. Helpless like a child. And boom, mask stolen, problem solved. Moving on. In the game, he stays in town until the 3rd day. Well, that doesn't work. I want to show the whole world, so we got to kick him out early. And so he will take the initiative and leave earlier, meet people, and hopefully learn something about himself. In short, pitch for the mortal arc. Sheltered young man faces his real self at the end of the world. There's also a cosmic arc, but we don't have the time for that today.
Okay. Sorry, we're just making sure that the timing is good and everything seems okay. All right, rock and roll. So let's draw some threads together. What does this all have in common? So back to musical theater. When I was in grad school, multiple professors told us that a great score with a so-so script will never be as good as a great script with a so-so score, as long as the so-so songs grow organically out of the great script. This has a corollary in video game music. A game can be great while still having a so-so soundtrack, but a great soundtrack will never save a crappy game, even if it's composed by Tim Follin, sorry to say.
Also,
nobody knows Tim Follin in here? Wow. There we go. Clap for the man I've never met or seen. Anyway, go ahead.
I clap for everybody who got good answers. The lady earlier, everybody else,
Yes,
everything,
yes.
everything. So something else that video games have in common with lyric theater is that video game music is not a style, okay? You can have, Sonic 3 has Michael Jackson kind of music for launch bass, literally his music. Mario Galaxy has Viennese waltzes for the observatory. So they're both video game music. This is the same thing as musical theater. You can have a jazz musical, a rock musical, or a shitty musical sometimes.
A shitty musical?
Yeah, a shitty musical. No, not yours.
A shitty musical? Go on. What are you getting at? What are you getting at in that script you're trying to read off of?
It's the same as yours. Don't look at me. What do you mean?
Take it back a little bit.
What do you mean? They're both video game music. It's the same as musical theater.
Go
right?
ahead. Go
Or
on.
you can have a jazz musical, a rock musical, or, looking at Brent for approval, says on the script, a shitty musical like a lot of them.
No, not a lot of them. Most of them. Yes.
If you thought I was calling you musical shitty, I bought your CD.
No.
I love your
no,
musical. I love the shit out
I
of
was making sure you set me up with like a lot of them.
Okay,
You skipped the tee off.
Sorry,
But that
I'm
worked
so
pretty well.
sorry.
Like, having to go back and do that was pretty amazing. Okay. So you doubly set me up. You pulled the rubber band back so far. Okay, sorry. I'm going to shut up now.
Sorry, I did not notice.
No, you're
I am
good.
a little nervous.
No,
It's
you're
okay.
good. You're good. Somewhere deep subconsciously, you knew that you were going to make it funnier. Go. I'm going to stop interrupting you. I'm going to stop interrupting
The
you.
point is, there's a lot of shitty opera too. Lots of it, even if it's old, doesn't escape it. So the thing is, you might think that opera stands out as a style. That's just because it usually picks up on things that are not popular genres. It's still its own. It's a repertoire of things. It's not a style of its own. It's all lyric theater music, and because it all appears in stage productions. And video game music, it's all video game music, not because it's all the same style, but because it all appears in video games.
Right. And another way that lyric theater and video game music are similar is IMO, much more beautiful and uplifting. Both lyric theater and video game music bring people together across time and space. What do I mean by that? Well, okay, I first played Final Fantasy IV in 1993 in Texas. Maybe somebody in here first tried it in Maryland last week. But we both played that game. We both took that progression, and we both are brought together by the music. Musical theater is the same. Maybe I was in a show when I was in high school. Maybe you were in the same show across the country, across the world, years apart. We were both still in that show, and we are brought together by that music. And in that way, I think lyric theater and video game music are actually really similar.
They are. I'm feeling guilty because I called his musical a shitty musical by accident. I didn't mean that. The point is...
No, you just didn't read the last line. You didn't call it shitty, I promise you.
I'm trying to relate and
No,
connect
you-
and put
you-
eyes on the audience because you need to talk to the
No,
audience. and
you're
I
doing
can't.
great. You're doing great. You just left out 5 words that set up the joke. That's all. I just really didn't want that joke to not work, so I was like,
Okay.
just
so-
your rewind knob.
Yeah,
real
I'm going to
quick.
rewind.
No, you're doing great. I didn't feel insulted at all. Okay, so go on.
So, rules are always broken. Make art, write your thing. Everyone can tell a story. The trick is to tell it through the things that you know, the art forms that you know. Video games are art. Lyric theater is art. They can all intersect despite their differences. There are operas with spoken dialogue. There's musicals that are sung through. There's operas that became jazz standards. There it is. No, that's fine. Sorry. And don't worry about categories, okay?
Right. One thing I tell my students on that note is sometimes something just works. You can apply all kinds of rules of thumb and adages and guidelines and best practices in the critique of a work of art, but sometimes something can break all of the rules, and for whatever reason, it just works. And it's important not to be so rigid about the air quotes rules that you aren't able to just open your mind and enjoy something on its own merits. So write boldly, and when appropriate, boldly go. Thank you for coming to our panel. We have one more thing for you. By the way, before we move forward, do we know when we started? Because they said we could have our hour, but I don't know when we started, so I don't. Okay, so maybe because we started at 7, we will do the last thing, and then if anybody has questions within reason, we can do kind of informal questions individually in the hallway. We were going to have a Q&A session, but you don't always know how long a panel's going to be. So take it away with this last thing. Explain it.
Yes. So before we go, in the spirit of the panel, because we both want to encourage people to be creative and do their own thing, you know, I arranged the title screen theme from Pokemon Pinball and added lyrics that sum up our feelings about music and writing in general. It's the three of us singing. We couldn't practice in time for live, but I hope you like it anyway. We'll go out on that note and play that for you now.
Musicals, opera, have plenty to offer. They're different things, but no one said you had to pick.
Theater kids come with all sorts of kinks. It's a matter of style.
Yeah, well, I'd rather watch a musical.
Moving on! Every little thing that you might think sets them apart has an exception, so just focus on what's bubbling down inside.
If you've got a story and an eager auditorium, then write, and then write, and then write. Theater and opera, on Broadway or off her, are lots of good fun and lots of dedicated work.
Directors, musicians, designers, technicians, it's all human skills.
So get that mediocre Gen AI
Here. So when you're in town and there's a show going around, consider maybe throwing money at the starving souls inside.
Cause we've got a story, and if you're the auditorium who writes, and it writes, and it writes. So if you've got a story and a hankering to join us, then you do, damn it right, damn it right.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to our panel. I'll be in the autograph section tomorrow with merch at 1:30 p.m., but right now we are happy to say hello to you in the hallway. Have a great rest of your MAGFest. Bye.
Thank you so much.